Hey, what is going on YouTube? It is Blue. We are back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about macros. If you're a PvP player, I'm guessing this is something you're very familiar with. For a lot of my subscribers and people that have watched me prior, know that I'm really focused on PvE, and macros is something that I've never really made use of until now. My eyes have been opened and I have seen that, spell modifiers or macro modifiers are just so great, especially moving from BFA to Shadowlands. In BFA, I got it so it's just like, hey, I'm done. I got all my buttons and they're all key bound. And then moving into Shadowlands, hey, I got more buttons and now I'm just pressing buttons, right? And that's not something that's optimal. I'd love to have a keybind for everything. And essentially what we're talking about today is, hey, instead of creating more keybinds with a macro modifier, we're essentially putting 3 spells into one button, okay? And then what we're going to do is say, hey, that one button does this spell, and then if I modify that button, say shift and the button, it does a separate spell, and then the same as if I control click it, right? Control click that same button, and then you can use a completely separate spell, making so you can move 3 spells into one. Now, for my feral audience, hopefully you guys enjoy some of these macros. I'm going to go ahead and go through some of the macros that I have. Now, if you're not a feral druid, no worries. What I would do is copy my macro. It's basically the same macro for all of them. Just copy and paste it, and then just put in the spells you want. All right, so I'm going to go over all of them. Like I said, if you're not a feral druid player, maybe just watch the first one. So here is my defense. I'll go ahead and put this up on my screen. Basically, what we want is just copy and paste this. You're going to see at the very end, it says reset equals 10. I have no idea what that means, you guys. If somebody does, go ahead and put it in the comment below. Really great. Reset equals 10, space. Put the spell that you want as the main spell. This is the one that without any modifiers, that's the button it will press, okay? And then if you have a shift modifier, so let's say I press the button but I press shift first, it's going to do your second spell, and then control, it's going to be your third spell. So you're going to see on mine, I made the icon Barkskin because this is my main spell. And then you're going to see down below, I actually still want to see my ability, see the cooldowns, even though I made a weak aura for it specifically. I don't want a weak aura for everything. But this is also kind of to help me, because I'm not very good. I'm still getting used to the modifiers of shift and control. So when I look down here, I say, okay, this is my defensive. If I do shift, this is what it does. If I do control, this is what it does. And do is speed. This one for me makes a lot of sense. My speed macro is, it's dash. And then my shift is Stampeding Roar. So this is kind of shift is the community one. Everybody gets benefit of that one. And then my control that I really don't use very often is my Soulshape, okay? And also the great thing about these macros, we'll go ahead and take a look at the speed one. So you're going to remember right here, this is my solo one. So I click that, it shows the cooldown. Now if I hover over my shift button, so I'm pressing shift right now, it's going to also show the cooldown of whatever that shift one is, which is really, really nice. So it's like, hey, I hovered over that. I already know it's off cooldown because I got that right there. But in case I was wondering, I can hover over shift, I can press that same ability, and now I see, hey, dash cooldown, Stampeding Roar cooldown, and then also control. I don't have it indicator right here, but this is my Soulshape. Okay, you can see the cooldown right here. Dun. If I don't hover over anything. Okay, so now basically we see the cooldowns of each. So let's go over some other ones that I have found useful. So for my wild charge and my skull bash. So here's one. I'll go ahead and put this up on my screen. I don't have a control for it, so I just said, hey, wild charge is also my control and my shift button. If you want to go ahead and you think, hey, maybe I can put something similar to those spells that makes sense to you, do a control. CC, so here's something useful that maybe you want to try out. Okay, we'll go over it first. So for my CC abilities, we have Typhoon, we have Mighty Bash, And then for my control, I have main. Now, for PvP content, let's say I switched out my balance affinity for my guardian affinity. So I no longer have Typhoon. Essentially, I just copied and pasted this exact same thing, and then instead of Typhoon, I said incapacitating roar. It still works, okay? Now, the only thing that's kind of a bummer is if I went ahead and I did change that, the cooldown is not going to show very well for incapacitating roar. Okay, so I have incapacitating roar down here. So let's go ahead and press that button. So you can see it's not really showing the cooldown of my incapacitating roar. And that's basically because, hey, the very first thing, the very first, I guess, macro that I have is for Typhoon. Now, if I put this at the bottom here, I cut that out and I put that at the bottom and I put it below roar, then roar would show up. So basically this macro is reading, you know, from top to bottom. So it's saying, hey, I'm only showing you the cooldown of Typhoon. And you notice right here also, it's not even showing me the ability. So like this one's showing me Dash, this one's showing me Barkskin. It's not showing me the ability because it's trying to read Typhoon, but Typhoon doesn't exist. So the button still works because I put it below here, say, hey, so it's reading this. It's like, okay, this isn't working. And then it's automatically doing this. So just, you know, understand if you want to do something like that, you can be useful. It can be useful, but it's not going to show you the cooldown anymore. So you might want to put incapacitating roar down here so you can see it. Blah, blah, blah. Also, you might want to change this out. So instead of Mighty Bash, it does Heart of the Wild. You know, honestly, if I was probably to redo this, I would have 3 separate macros for CC. One that works with Mighty Bash, so let's say dungeon content, and then one's kind of a raid content where I'm going to be using Heart of the Wild, and then one's a PvP content where I'm going to be using Incapacitating Roar. Okay, so there's that. But honestly, if you wanted to, I could just copy and paste this and make a third one on this very same macro to include, which isn't in here, Heart of the Wild, and I'm guessing it would still work. I have a CC/hard CC. This is more for PvP content, capture the flag kind of stuff, battlegrounds, where it's just like, hey, you know, maybe you need to, shoot, what is this ability? Cyclone, and then maybe you're up against a bear or a feral druid, and then you can also hibernate, which works really well. So I could just shift click, control click to hibernate, and just normal click is my cyclone. Regen, if you're a bear, this one's going to be really useful to you. Or if you're Feral Druid and Battlegrounds again, essentially moving to Bear. I have this macro, so this macro is going to Frenzied Regen, but prior to Frenzied Regen, it's going to use either your 13 or your 14, so whatever you want to put here. I have it as my 13. My 13 is always my HP one. So if you're not familiar with Frenzied Regeneration, it's going to heal you by your % health. So this ability, what it does is you have to use it twice. So the first use is going to proc your trinket, and then your second use is going to actually proc Frenzied Regeneration, which benefits off having more health. And I believe we went over all of them. But that's it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully this helps. But that's it. Take it easy, everyone. Peace.